So the war rages while on this side of the border they're trying to cut a deal. Trump wants to send in military, send it in to help the people as cool you can. But going back to Trump's thing, I don't know what. It sounds good to say, oh, we're going to use the military, but use them where, on what exactly? If you would simply cause the large groupings of those groups to disperse, right? You wouldn't see hundreds of them gathering up, and that would be good. But ultimately, a DR rug conspiracy consists of people making deals on phones, and a couple trucks go this way, and one boat, and this, and it's not a military problem to a degree. Now, the military could be somewhat helpful, but Mexico would have to want to participate in that, and of course, nobody wants to give up their sovereignty. Now, on our side of the border, the consumers, and of course Europe has become the number one consumer of the yayos, but we're still a huge consumer. Record amounts of production in Colombia, and on our side of the border, not only our demand, but our weak law enforcement or failings in law enforcement. Many DEA agents expressed that we're fighting a losing war. Remember, the war on drugs has been going on decades and decades, and drugs just seem to be a greater and greater part of global culture. You have a lot of regions. I mean, there's a lot of cocaine and heroin is popularly used. Meth in Africa now, in part, big cities in Africa, the Middle East, tons of stuff gets sent there. Syria, it's been revealed with the fall of Assad, was a narco-state. They were pumping out massive amounts of meth pills to support the government, billions a year. It was one of the biggest drug operations in the world. That's the most popular drug in the whole Middle East. The world is a very large place. We don't think about it, but or you don't hear about it, I should say. But every night in Basra, which is the second largest city in Iraq, SWAT teams fan out and raid crystal meth spots. So the drugs just seems to be getting bigger and bigger. And the DEA on our side of the border, or the DEA, the United States Drug Enforcement Administration, has less than 5,000 agents spread over nearly 300 offices. So you're talking 20, 30 agents average an office. A smaller office probably has a handful. So if you're able to corrupt a few people, you can compromise a whole region of the country. Down in Miami in 2022, a guy named Nicholas Palmieri, who was a group leader, he was forced to resign after getting too cozy with defense attorneys in Miami, going on vacation with them, defense attorneys of big narcos, and out of that same Miami office. So he was the group supervisor. I'm sorry, he wasn't out of Miami. That was the head of the whole Central and North American and Central American offices was Nicholas Palmieri. He just had to resign for being too cozy with Miami lawyers. And then in the Miami office, there was a group supervisor who was, well, they got him on wiretap accepting $70,000 from a recently retired DEA agent who had set himself up as a private investigator. So he was being hired by defense attorneys who had dope man clients to get information from active DEA agents about ongoing investigations, right? So if you're selling, you want to know, are you a target? Are any of the people working for you been taken into custody? You want intelligence. You're not necessarily paying someone to destroy a document or to move a load. You just want to know what the DEA knows. If I know they're nosing around over here around, oh, that's my guy, and they're nosing around, let me stop dealing with him. Let me go over here. So, some of the federal investigators I've interviewed over the years for my documentaries work as PIs. A bunch of ones in a certain city that we did mob documentary stuff on, interviewed these FBI agents. When they retired, They became PIs employed at least some of the time by a guy alleged, not convicted, alleged, and thought to be by the FBI's own intelligence, one of or the key mafia power in a major U.S. city, has several FBI agents working for him as PIs. So this is, that private investigator thing is the nexus between, or is a nexus along with lawyers. And the lawyers hire the PIs usually. PIs and lawyers, a nexus between the big criminals getting information about law enforcement. And usually law enforcement is very careful and judges about who they let corrupt them, right? Who are they going to get the money from? You can't just walk up to the judge on a golf course and offer him money. You got to get a certain lawyer. And a certain lawyer, you know, everybody doesn't get allowed to give a bribe, right? I mean, who are you? They got to trust you. Are you, you know, there's many things that go into it. But in the drug trade, global drug trade, is just a piggy bank, a convenient piggy bank for a lot of people. So those two agents were engaged in some relatively not that big of amounts of money, but a DEA agent only makes $75,000. For him to get $70,000 at once is a year's salary for passing on a little bit of information here and there. I'm sure a lot of that goes on, and there was a scandal. The reason that Palmieri guy was getting looked into was one of the agents under his command, Jose Izarrari, who described himself as the most corrupt DEA agent ever. He recently got a 12-year sentence. He was skimming. He stole at least $9 million. Not so well.